Hello everyone! Welcome to an updated mid-game guide video. This video will have many sections, each timestamp so you can easily skip to or find what you're looking for. My name is xNose and I've been playing Bee Swarm Simulator since 2018, and I can help you guys get to the end of the game as fast as possible. Before we get into the video, please note that my last mid-game guide video was missing just a little bit of information or was incorrect. I'm sure if you've watched that video, you were able to distinguish what mistakes I made or fill in the blanks that I did not fill in for you. Before we get too much further into the video, I want to tell you guys that I have made a second channel called xNose Live, where I make more content and stream so you can get more of my silly little self. If you want to check that out, please do. The link will be down in the description below. Now, let's hop into the video. Congrats on getting 35 bees. I know for some of you that may have taken a little while, but believe me when I say this stage of the game is going to take you even longer to get out of. If you don't have 35 bees yet, please check out my updated beginner's guide so you can know exactly what to do to be able to use this guide as well. This video can be found in the top right hand corner of your screen or down below in the description. If you watched my updated beginner's guide video, you'll know that I never actually told you to upgrade your guards past the 2 you buy in the pro shop. Well, that's because the red guards found in the red HQ require stingers in order to craft. Not a lot of stingers, but stingers nonetheless. I would wait until after you have a vicious bee in order to buy them. And at that point, you could probably afford the 3rd tier shoulder guard. If you do want to buy these guards before getting a vicious bee to upgrade your carrying capacity and stats, go ahead, be my guest. I cannot stop you. The blue guards, however, should be bought, as they don't require any stingers to craft. So tiers 1, 2, and 3 should be gotten. No excuses there. Throughout your mid-game journey, you'll be doing quests from this amazing bear. If you've encountered her before, you'll know that she drops a lot of lore and insight on the game. But there's one thing that's really bad about her. She doesn't shut up. Shut up! There is no avoiding her because she gives you spirit petals. These spirit petals are used to craft your first wand upgrade, the Petal wand, an event bee, the windy bee, and the petal bell. Once you unlock Spirit Bear, she will consume all of your time and resources because she should be your #1 priority in quest completion, putting every other bear on the bench. You can still do the other bears, but having an emphasis on Spirit Bear in particular will help you progress forward and not fall behind, at least mainly for those first 10 quests. After that, you can do what you want. As soon as you get your first Spirit Bear quest, you are immediately given a very difficult task. Collect 1 million goo. For those of you who are unaware, goo is collected from gumdrops, goo trails, and goo splatter. Gumdrops are pretty self-explanatory as they are an item that can be found in your inventory to make goo appear on a field that you're standing in. Goo trails are from gummy boots, which you obviously won't have direct access to considering that they are a late game item. Goo splatter, however, is definitely something that you can get, because it comes from Gummy Bee. There's also a Gummy Mask, but I will be talking about that later. Gummy Bee has 2 abilities, Gumdrop Barrage, which is just like as if you were using a gumdrop from your inventory, and Glob, which splatters goo onto the field. Gummy Bee is an event bee that is purchasable with gumdrops that can be found in the 20 bee zone. Gummy Bee costs 2,500 gumdrops, so that is quite a lot of gumdrops that you'll be needing. To finish these goo quests, you're probably going to want to get this bee instead of using your gumdrops to finish the quest. Getting a Gummy Bee won't be easy, as 2,500 gumdrops is a lot. So this is where you'll see yourself spending tickets on something that isn't an event bee from the ticket tent. For 100 tickets, you could buy 300 gumdrops from the gumdrop shop, which can be found in the 5B zone. At first, Gummy Bee will feel super underwhelming when you first get it, but it will definitely show its worth the more you play. It is a very important bee, quite frankly, the most important throughout your mid-game journey. I started this video off by mentioning stingers and vicious bee. Some of you probably haven't heard of vicious bee yet or know just how valuable the bee is. So let me show you what this bee is all about. Did you catch that? Because I sure did. So let me explain Vicious Bee before I explain to you what you just saw. Vicious Bee is a bee that costs 250 stingers found in the 5B zone. It summons spikes, 1 per level, to deal 5% of the enemy's current health. That is a lot of damage, which can be increased by the Vicious Bee's attack stat. This thing will help you solo Mondo Chick, your Commando Chick, your King Beetle, and eventually your Tunnel Bear and Coconut Crab, which will allow you to have access into the coconut shop. So do me a favor, stop wasting your stingers and get this bee already, why don't you? Previously, I had mentioned that the first Spear Bear quest requires you to collect a lot of goo, and that's why you should be gunning to get a gummy bee as fast as you possibly can. But while you're trying your hardest to collect as many gumdrops as possible to get a gummy bee, you simply cannot do that Spear Bear quest on your own. So you'll be focusing on your other quests. But which ones should you do? Well, if you have already forgotten, Black Bear at the end of their quest line gives you a mythic egg, and along the way will give you a diamond egg. Panda Bear gives you a star treat and star egg. Brown Bear will give you a diamond egg at 75 completed quests and a mythic egg at 100. Onnit gives a star treat, and most importantly and quite easily, Mother Bear gives a star egg and a star treat. So let's break down these NPC quests. Black Bear, Brown Bear, Science Bear, and Onnit all require you to collect pollen. Panda Bear asks you to kill mobs, and Mother Bear asks you to level up your bees. In my opinion, from the pollen collection quests, I'd try my best to do all the easy quests first, and once they ask of you to collect a lot of pollen from a beginner field, swap to a different quest and rinse and repeat until at least 2 of your quests share the same beginner field so that you can do 2 at once. Additionally, doing these quests can go by a lot faster if you're constantly using your 3 field boosters. As for Polar Bear, you do them whenever you can, or remember to, as it helps keep your bees awake for longer. And as for Dapper Bear, well, we can forget about him for now, since his quests are pretty difficult anyway. You can save those for later. If you watched my Noob to Pro series, you'll notice that on episode 14, I ended up buying a fire mask and bubble mask. These masks, when I first got them, were pretty useful to me, but took away 100 red and blue extracts from my inventory, as well as royal jellies because I crafted them, plus glues and glitters, but we don't talk about that. After getting a gummy mask, I never touched them again. I mention this because I want you to figure out whether or not you want to buy these. They'll help a little bit, but not as much as you think they would. I would say keep your materials and continue forward to trying to just buy a coconut canister instead. However, that being said, Bubble Mask and Fire Mask was pretty useful when I first got them. In fact, the Fire Mask did come in clutch for all of my mushroom field quests. It's just a thought. We are a lot more advanced in the game now, so it only makes sense for us to upgrade our sprinklers. For this upgrade, you are going to need 333 million honey and 10 ace badges. So you should get to work on those right away. Badges, if you don't remember, allow you to collect 15 tickets and get a nice little stat boost, on top of allowing you to buy these golden gushers, that is. So you'll want to get as many of those badges as you can. Science Bear has 31 quests, and these quests are not that easy. A lot of it is very time consuming and can even require loads of luck. The payoff for completing Science Bear quests, however, are super amazing. Translators. These 3 translators are used to talk to Bucko, Riley, and Stickbug. Once received, you can choose to give one of these translators to one of the 3 NPCs, but you can only use it once. So you gotta be pretty smart on your decision on who to give them to in order. Bucko and Riley Bee give you quests, and when you complete one, we'll give you a red or blue extract depending on which one you give it to. Stickbug, on the other hand, is pretty unique. When given a translator, you can do a Stickbug challenge, which has a 36-hour cooldown once finished. This Stickbug challenge can give you gumdrops, pineapples, sunflower seeds, treats, royal jelly, oil, magic beans, enzymes, and even star jelly. So it's perfect for farming extra materials. And can give you a Stickbug Amulet, which you had just seen in the video, which will improve your stats. A good recommendation is that you don't give your first translator to Stickbug. Trust me, those rewards might be enticing, but it is not the right move. You'll want to give it to Bucko or Riley Bee depending on how many red or blue extracts you have in your inventory at that time. If you have the same number of extracts though, you're going to want to start looking at your stats. See which one you can collect more pollen for and how many of those bees you have so that you can get the abilities in the quest done faster. Oh boy, this topic. A lot of people are going to be in the comments section fighting over what I'm about to say. In my most humble opinion, the following bees are the way you should get them in order. Cobalt and Crimson Bee, as they help to tie in whatever hive you were working with in the beginning of your journey, and end up costing the same as one event bee. Tabby Bee, despite it not being so useful when you first get it, will end up needing that head start because of how long it takes to get it to 1,000 Tabby Love stacks. Festive Bee, because it gives you more items, and tell me, who doesn't want more items? Photon Bee, as it is one of the better pollen collection bees, however I still prefer more materials. And lastly, Puppy Bee, since you won't really be able to benefit from this bee anyway. That, and I know that as I am saying this, most of you won't even give this bee a starter treat unless you legitimately have to. But if you're genuinely struggling to get treats and you're watching this video as a beginner, thinking that you're smart for wanting to look ahead of where you are, here's a little bonus tip just for you. Consider it a small way of me saying thank you for watching my video. If you're struggling to get a honey mask because getting all those treats is pretty difficult, you can use Puppy Bee to give yourself more treats without having to lose an arm and a leg trying to buy treats with honey. Now that that's out of the way, here's the order you should give some of your event bees in. Vicious Bee first if you play a lot, as that is how you'll get the most value out of your star tree. Gummy Bee if you don't want to take a long time with your goo quests, since giving it a star treat will improve its spread of goo on the field. Tabby Bee if you have more than 500 stacks. Photon Bee if you need more instant conversion, and lastly Puppy Bee if you plan on leveling up your bees. As you play through the game, you'll notice that a lot of people have very high level bees. Bees gain benefits from every level they have. Their attack gets higher, their pollen collection gets better, and their abilities are more enhanced. All of these things are very useful, but there's just one small problem. You need to feed treats to your bees to level them up. That's easy enough, right? That's a simple concept. Well, leveling up bees is hard. Having said that, there is a way to speed up the leveling process without having to just rely on treats. The main one being, mobs give bond every time you defeat them, as well as drop treats and fruits to also help you level up your bees. This is what you should be doing, collecting resources from them every time you can. You'd be very surprised by how fast you can level up your bees from them, which is why gifting your Vicious Bee is pretty important. Knowing which bees to level up in the beginning can be a little difficult. That's where I come in to tell you, mythics and event bees should be your priority in leveling bees up. There are some exceptions to this, like if you don't have an event bee yet, or you're given a quest to level up / feed a bee, you should be looking to give them to gifted bees instead if you can. However, there is one bee in particular that you should be focusing all of your treats into. Vicious Bee. As fast as you can get this bee to levels 8 and 11, the better, as it allows you to solo your Mondo Chick, Tunnel Bear, and Coconut Crab. I haven't mentioned this shop yet because of how controversial my next few statements are going to be. This shop contains the Cobalt and Crimson Guards, as well as the Honey Mask and Honeycomb Belt. The Honey Mask should already be or be close to getting in your inventory if you're watching this video. The Honeycomb Belt, if you want to become a white hive, is kind of a detriment to your glue count. And as for the Cobalt and Crimson Guards, they can also be a detriment to you depending on which colored extracts you need to be a blue or red hive. 45, as well as in general if you're gunning for the coconut canister. If you decided that you want to get the coconut canister right away, then you'll want to avoid buying anything right away from this shop. If you decided against getting the coconut canister right away, then getting these 2 guards should definitely be a top priority. Keep in mind that this game is all about managing your materials. The faster you get a certain amount of materials for future upgrades, the faster you can get those upgrades. If you have an easy time with getting materials, then don't worry too much about getting these future upgrades, just get whatever upgrades you can. We're getting really far now. Our hives are getting way better, we're getting more bees, and we're just demolishing the flowers of the fields that we're in. We're gonna need diamond drenchers. We'll need 4.44 billion honey and 10 master badges. Puffshrooms are a very important mechanic in the game now. At every hour 15 and every hour 45, Puffshrooms will naturally spawn in the world. When popped, Puffshrooms can give you waxes. The red clay planter and the blue clay planter are the 2 most important planters you'll want to get. So make sure you keep track of your materials so that you can afford to buy these 2. We previously talked about different ways to collect goo. Gummy Mask was briefly mentioned. Now I'm going to be speaking about the Gummy Mask in full detail. Gummy Mask is a mask that utilizes both your honey mask and gummy bee. It is the only mask in the game so far that relies on a bee to activate its ability. It costs 5 billion honey and requires 100 enzymes, oils, and glitters, as well as 250 glues. It's primarily for white hives, but is a very good mask for people who aren't fully decided on what color they want to be. It's also used for the Beesmas event so that you can talk to Gummy Bear, and is good for if you're not close to getting gummy boots and want another way of collecting lots of goo for Goo Quests. Gummy Mask's passive is Gummy Morph, which after 30 stacks of goo, 3 points for a Gummy Bee ability and 1 point for a gumdrop, will turn you into a gummy bear. It is the only bear morph in the game that is free. It will completely cover whatever field you are standing in with goo, and also increases your goo collection and conversion. This mask is not required for every player, but unless you're crazy like me and only bought gummy boots and not Gummy Mask, you're going to want to buy this mask for sure. Yes, I was one of those people who went straight for their preferred color right away. Was it a mistake? Maybe, but I'll never know. The coconut shop is located behind a locked door where the coconut crab spawns. To enter it, you must first defeat the coconut crab in Mortal Kombat. Once inside, you can purchase 2 items as of recording this video, the coconut clogs and the coconut canister. Figuring out which one you want to prioritize first is completely up to you. However, there are pros and cons for both. Everyone has different opinions on whether to get a petal belt or a windy bee with your second spirit petal. I will not tell you which one to do, however I will say that the petal belt gives you more capacity and instant conversion with the petal storm passive. If you plan on getting the petal belt, you should always keep 25 star jellies in your inventory. Windy Bee gives you an event bee that taxes your movement speed in order to use a tornado, which is good for collecting fruit and pollen. If you plan on getting Windy Bee, you'll have to maximize your Wind Shrine donations. This means you'll be playing a game of chance for every donation you do, so you'll want to ensure that you can play the game of chance every 1 or 2 hours. You'll be donating 1 hour for the shot at getting the Windy Bee, while the other will be spent on trying to summon a wild Windy Bee for another shot at getting a Windy Bee the next hour. Donating Cloud Vials is actually the most effective way of increasing your chance at getting a Windy Bee, so it kind of evens out despite the fact that by 30 Spirit Bear quests, you'll have the same chance of getting a Windy Bee. To know when you're out of mid-game, you'll either have a Supreme Star Amulet or get most of Spirit Bear's quests done. My perfect indicator is 20 Spirit Bear quests, because at that point you'll have coconut gear and probably a handful of mythics. That and also...
So then why do I stop at the second spirit petal? Well, there's 3 petals to obtain, so the second one is like right in the middle.
Now, why do I say either? Well, because there's some people that are just super blessed by RNG and are able to get an SSA crazy early, like my friend Chris, who made an alt account and got it to SSA in just a few days, which is just absurd.
Bow, white boy.
Or you're like me, who has absolutely terrible RNG, but has good game understanding and can keep up with quests despite the luck. I really hope that this video helped you out a lot. I know that sometimes it can be very difficult to know exactly what you're doing, so I hope this filled in any blanks that you had in your head. If this video helped you out a lot, please make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe, and share it with all of your friends, as that'll help me out. If you would like some tips and tricks, please let me know down in the comment section below and I'll make a new video for it. That, or if we get this video to like 100 likes. And again, if you want to check out my second channel, make sure to check it out. The link will be down in the description below. This video took me about 3 months to make, so I sure hope that it was worth it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have anything to add, please add it down in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll smell you later. Peace.
Have a different meaning. Now I can be